Now, the Dallas Cowboys, next week, the Dallas Cowboys, they will go to 2-1 on the year. So the Dallas Cowboys will be 2-1 on the year because they will be going on the road to take on the Bears, who, yeah, they're the worst team in the league. Yeah, that's the worst football team in the league. They are awful. And the Detroit Lions put them in a clown suit yesterday at Ford Field, and there was no let-up. There was no let-up whatsoever. Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, said it best that even though the coordinators left, the most important part of the mix for the Detroit Lions is still there.
I think we answered a lot of questions as it pertains back to what you said. I've said this all along, man. This train keeps rolling, man, and we got plenty here, and it always is going to start with the players. We got players, we got playmakers, and they're made the right way. They're the right kind of guys, man.
That was an absolute ass whooping yesterday.
It was
ass whooping.
and people were questioning at the end, going forward on fourth down, they could have kicked a field goal, and I don't know if we have the Ben Johnson sound. But,
oh, yeah, we got it.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and play that.
When you're around this league long enough, these games happen, and it doesn't feel any better when it happens. But the good teams I've been on, they find a way to respond, and I know our guys will do that.
Dan Campbell ran it up on you on that 4th and 4 goal.
What's he supposed to do? It's 4th and goal. What do you want him to do? Yeah, he could have kicked the field goal. They don't kick field goals. They go for it there. So he was doing what he was supposed to do. That's what he does.
Did he seem irritated from that?
I think he's just. So yeah, I mean, listen. That of course they're going to do that. It's bad, man.
Well, it's bad because I think the hard part is like this takes time, and the expectation was Ben Johnson was going to get there and magically snap his fingers, or I guess toes if you're Lorena, and everything was just going to turn around, right?
Right.
Is that her using her toes again?
I don't.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, everyone thought this was going to happen overnight. It's not how this works. It's a slow process. There's a lot on Caleb Williams' plate. There's a lot of fundamental things they're trying to probably coach out of him that he's been doing wrong for years. And so that stuff takes time. And he has to be willing to adjust and adapt. Because if he's not, after this year, that organization is going to have to make a decision. And they're going to have to decide, is it Ben Johnson or is it Caleb Williams? And my bet is that depending on how this year goes, because there's even a thought in my head that based on how Tyson Bagent looked, based on him getting the contract extension before the season, there's a thought that maybe they would go with Tyson Bagent if things keep going this direction for a while. Maybe like Caleb sit and watch. Maybe they feel like he's able to, grow from that. I don't know. But that looked so uncompetitive yesterday between division opponents that it made you see just how far apart, the Detroit Lions are, how they're built in comparison to the Bears.
Well, one of the biggest lies that was told was when people said, well, Ben Johnson's the guy, they'll bring him in, and to your point, it's going to, they'll snap their toes or fingers and they'll get this thing figured out. And it's like, I kept thinking to myself, well, is he bringing Penei Sewell? Is he bringing David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown? Is he bringing those guys with him? Because that's also a large part of why they were so successful. They've got the players, and that's why Dan Campbell pointed that out. Like, it starts with the players. We've still got the players there. I like Ben Johnson. I like his demeanor. I think, he's the guy for the job. But that roster is nowhere close to what the Lions were. At all. Like, nowhere close. And yesterday, Caleb Williams will get all the, he'll get all the shots and people will point out, well, Ben Johnson left Jared Goff and all this talk about, man, the Bears defense got clowned yesterday. They got absolutely exposed. And, Dennis Allen's the new defensive coordinator there. But, Ryan Poles, the GM, like there's been things that they've done. Colston Loveland, they spent a top 10 pick on him. Where is he? They went out and traded for Montez Sweat because they wanted a pass rusher a couple of years ago, and then they gave him this monster deal.
How's that going?
I mean,
By the way, it's one of the reasons why you don't draft a tight end in the top 10 is you're not going to reap the immediate return for that.
Dave, when Prisco comes on, should I read his analysis of Loveland over a Tyler Warren? Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Well, let's just really wind him up this morning. Let's just get Prisco going.
Yes. It's just, so I look at it, I go, man, this is going to take some time. I don't know how much time certain people have there in the building, but whatever people thought Ben Johnson was going to bring with him, it wasn't going to be a flip the switch and everything's going to be fixed. Caleb Williams, there does seem to be like he's making progress. Like he's playing a little bit better. The interception not ideal yesterday. But this is not just a Caleb Williams thing. And it's also not just thank God they got rid of Matt Eberflus. God, boy, thank God they got rid of him because that was the real issue. No, there's problems there. There's a lot of problems there, and that's why they're the worst team in the league. Even worse than New Orleans. I'll say that.
They're not the worst team in the league. They're not the worst team in the league.
Who's worse?
I would say New Orleans is down there.
Oh.
I think the Panthers are down there.
Not on my power rankings.
I mean, the Browns haven't looked good. I mean, outside of them being competitive versus the Bengals, they didn't look good yesterday.
Yeah, but at least those teams are competitive.
The Browns were not competitive yesterday.
Well, no, I'm saying the Browns were competitive in Week 1. They probably should have won that game against Cincinnati in Week 1.
The Bears looked great in that opening drive.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So maybe they're not 32 in my power rankings.
Competitive that drive.
It's just,